right now at 6 o'clock, we start with a live look from Indy's northeast side, where people are protesting plans for a new data center. This is just one of many communities across central Indiana fighting these kinds of developments.
And tonight, Matthew Foltz joins us live in studio to share some new insights on this particular proposed project and also some perspective from neighbors who actually are on both sides of the fence.
Well, yeah, Anne-Marie and Dustin, the company says they want to build this data center in the Martindale-Brightwood area. They believe that it won't harm the neighborhood in any way. Meanwhile, city leaders agree, but those protesting tonight that you just saw right there tell me that there isn't anything positive about it, and they want the community to have a final say. Near the intersection of 25th and Sherman Drive, behind a chain fence and overgrown weeds, lies the site where Metro Blocks wants to build their data center.
I can't see any positive outcomes from it.
Derek Ford is with the nonprofit Indy Liberation Center. They organized a protest against the possible data center coming to the Martindale-Brightwood area.
So many other options that are available, and so when we just narrow it into it's got to be AI or nothing else, when that's not true at all. Right? There's so many other things that we could do to benefit the community.
Right now, Metro Block says they want to build on about 13 acres of land, which used to be the former Sherman Drive-In Theater. The company says the data center would bring in an estimated $10 million of property tax revenue to residents. No groundwater would be drawn from neighborhoods, and the company says they will pay for all power upgrades. They also claim that their building and generators won't bring noise or pollution. Meanwhile, Ford disagrees.
This is our city, and so ultimately, who should be the ones to make the decisions over how to use that? Let alone that this is the worst possible way to use that, because it only results in the degradation of the environment, the degradation of social relationships.
This is a start of growth here, in my opinion.
City County Councilor Ron Gibson represents the 8th District, including the Martindale-Brightwood area. He says he's fully behind the project.
This is not what you're hearing about other data centers. This is a total different technology on a much smaller scale. No harm, no hazard to our community whatsoever.
Gibson says he also spoke to the CEO of Metro Blocks multiple times and believes this will be the start of long-term investment for the city. Meanwhile, neighbors argue they just want to say in the matter.
It comes down to a matter of priorities and who has the right to determine the future of the city. Is it the people? Is it the quote-unquote, our elected representatives?
And right now, the company does still need to file for zoning with the city, and that's something that can happen over the next few weeks, even months. There's no timetable on that. But since that land is zoned industrial, it's always been zoned industrial, the code of it does not include data centers. So that's why they will still need to file for that zoning. And I'm told by Councilor Gibson, once that happens, there will be a public hearing where the community can have their say-so before things are approved. So, of course, we do have full information right now about the company and their planned specs at WTHR.com.
We've seen people really rise up with concerns about this, not only there, but Franklin Township, right? Morgan County as well.
And lead to change. It hasn't been that business has won, when we've seen the community speak out. All right, stay on it for us. Thanks, Matthew. Well, Indiana is in the midst of this data center boom. The site data center map is reporting that there are 74 facilities statewide, and that's a roughly 30% increase since just March. A majority of those data centers, 30 to be exact, are located right here in Indianapolis.
We have an in-depth report on the growth of these data centers, not only here in central Indiana, but really statewide. And you can find that right now. We've got it posted to WTHR.com/scene-on-13.
Well, when it comes to our forecast, it's really just watching the temperatures get even warmer. We made it to 75 today. We're still at 74. The temperature is expected to continue warming up over the next 24 hours, although overnight we will cool down a bit. It was 80 in St. Louis earlier in the day. Some clouds tried to roll through. Not a lot of moisture with it, though, so we weren't able to see any precipitation, and that'll be the case for tonight. In fact, I think partly cloudy skies will become mostly clear. Not able to cool down quite as much as we have. We had 49 this morning, and there were a lot of 40s across the area. Not quite as cool overnight. 55 is what we're expecting. I think we'll make it into the upper 70s by the afternoon. Plenty of sunshine expected. I'll be back with a look at rain chances coming up.
All right, we'll see you then, Rob. Thank you. For the 5th time this year, police cars surrounded a near South Side intersection for a crash involving a pedestrian. The victim in this case was last listed in critical condition.
So frustrating. Our Ashton Hackman talked to traffic safety advocates who say this is a scenario that in our community is happening far too often.
Well, the numbers are truly staggering. Of the more than 600 pedestrian crashes in Indianapolis so far this year, nearly half are hit and runs.
Metro Police say the driver in Monday morning's crash initially drove a short distance away, but later returned to the scene. IMPD tells us that person is now cooperating with police. The person hit remains in the hospital in critical condition. IMPD records show out of the 10 fatal hit and runs so far this year, officers found and arrested drivers in at least 2 of the incidents. And although the pedestrian survived this latest crash and it wasn't a hit and run, Safe Streets Indy says the Shelby-Raymond Street intersection is a pedestrian crash hotspot. 5 crashes this year and 5 the year before. The same spot where Dylan Rogers lost his life after being hit by a car in February.
A lot of these incidents do happen, after dark in places where the lighting isn't super great. And so that definitely plays a contributing factor in a lot of these, unfortunately.
In Indianapolis, Ashton Hackman, 13 News.
We reached out to the counselor who represents that area to ask about what changes he thinks should be made to improve safety. We'll let you know if we get a response. Well, it is day number 13, day 13 of this government shutdown, and we're starting to sort of get a better idea, a closer idea of how exactly this is impacting Hoosiers employed at the federal level. We're talking about more than 23,000 people and their families here in Indiana.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
And Ella Rhodes is here to tell us about a place where you might see the effects of this situation if you haven't already.
Airports are just one of the many places you can see the impacts of the federal government shutdown. And the National Federation of Government Employees says the issue is much deeper and impacts millions of Americans. Nearly 300,000 Hoosiers are a part of labor unions represented in the American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organizations. The group tells me members are stressed and uncertainty grows. From TSA workers, air traffic controllers, to federal employees at VA hospitals, military bases, Social Security offices, you name it. The American Federation of Government Employees is also a part of AFL-CIO. The national president, Dr. Everett B. Kelly, spoke to labor unions in Indianapolis on Monday. He says it's not fair for workers to be used as political pawns or for Americans to lose access to critical resources federal workers provide.
How do you go and say, I'm the big guy that's making sure the hostages come home, when you have the entire United States of America held hostage?
AFL and AFGE encourage people to call lawmakers to urge Congress to end the shutdown before it grows worse. In Indianapolis, Ella Rhodes, 13 News.
And tomorrow, casino workers at the Horseshoe in Shelbyville are walking off the job in response to this government shutdown. Hundreds of table games and dual rate dealers were set to vote on forming a union this week, but the government shutdown forced the National Labor Relations Board to postpone that vote indefinitely. So now workers authorized to strike starting tomorrow for union recognition. We'll continue to follow that, see where it goes.